Okay, so you're ready.
I am
Because
now
we
recording.
can't mess around. The Ma's here.
No, we can't mess around.
You don't want to draw this. You really don't want to mess this up.
I don't.
Welcome back to Talking Story. My name is John Minton. I am here today with one of the most talented women I've ever met in my life, and that's why I married her.
One of.
Well, I mean, there's Meryl Streeps out there. I never met Meryl Streep, though. But I mean, I can't say you're the most talented person in the world. You're way up there.
Thanks.
I would go top 3.
Those 30 years are coming to an end right now.
I think we've been together 30 years.
Yeah, oh, absolutely we have.
No, we have not.
How old was I when you met me?
Well, I don't remember.
You asked Scott how old I was, and he said...
We met in 96.
And you asked Scott how old I was, and he said...
2024.
So it's 29. 29
Not 30 years.
It's 29.
Don't rush it.
Well, yeah, you're probably right. Anyway...
I've missed your stage voice. It's so fake.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I don't talk like this most of the time.
Yeah, you do.
Most of the time, I talk way louder.
Yeah.
That is actually true.
Which is odd.
It's really hot in here.
I think it's just me.
I don't think it is.
I think it is.
I'll pipe in right now, and I don't think it is.
I kind of put off a musky vibe.
That's an odor.
Yeah, I got nothing. So...
It's your shirt.
But she bloomed, so amazingly talented actor. We built a theater company together, and then when we left theater, she just decided, you know what, I'm going to go back to my first love, my first medium, which is writing. So she just, gets into one of the most prestigious programs in the country and gets her MFA, just, because that's what you do when you leave one art form for another. I told you, one of the most talented women. And then, she's my favorite writer in the world.
You're upsetting Sestra.
I am upsetting Sestra. They're upset because they're downstairs. But so the amazing thing is, she is going to be able to have a conversation and tell us why this book works, because she knows what she's talking about, as opposed to...
You're really building this up in a way that's just not fair.
Because I feel like, this is just not even going to be my channel anymore after this is over.
Yeah.
We're just going to talk about the book.
Which book is that?
This book is City of Thieves. The book you told me... How long ago did you tell me to read this book?
When it first came out, which was 2012 or 2015, I can't remember.
Oh my God, that's way longer than I thought.
Mm-hmm. It's almost as long as we've been together.
No, that is not anywhere near.
It's pretty close.
It's not anywhere near.
I told you to read it when it first came out, and you ignored me, and it wasn't until...
That's not true.
Your people on the internet said to read it. Then
I had no choice.
Then you're interested.
Then I had no choice.
Oh, I think you were excited to read it.
I was very excited to read it because I knew it would be a great choice because you said I would love it.
Mm-hmm.
And you know me better than anyone. If you said I'd love it, I knew I would love it. And that's why I was excited to read it.
Mm-hmm.
So
a lot of books I think you would love, but you just don't listen to me.
I read quite... All right, I do absolutely listen to you.
I'm going to make Jakob angry.
Yeah.
This video is going to be...
He's going to come over here and fix that.
I'll do it right now.
It took him a long time to get that to where he wanted it.
There we go. Yep.
All right.
Oh, come on.
So let's talk about City of Thieves by David Benioff.
Mm-hmm.
I love this book. When I break down a book, I do it in kind of like 5 categories.
Okay.
It looks like you had something to say.
I just think you should say it's a departure from your usual reading genres that you cover here.
This is a fantastical fiction channel. It's a bit of a departure, but
that's stretching it.
As we do, we'll throw in a historical fiction every once in a while to kind of break things up, a little palate cleanser.
Since when?
My birthday read last year was a trilogy about the Arthurian, but it was historical fiction.
Okay.
So, I thought it was very fantastical by the end, but it's thought of as historical fiction.
Okay.
So it's not, it's not too far off the beaten path.
I sit corrected.
And then I want to do Pillars of the Earth and Lonesome Dove. There's some other, there's some other.
Lonesome Dove? I thought you already read that.
I've never read that.
Oh.
It's a little too close to, it makes me think of Dad. Yeah, it's going to wreck me.
You're going to be a little weepy.
I'm going to be a lot weepy.
Now someone sent it to you, so you have to read it.
Uh-oh.
And I wanted to read it. I've been avoiding it for a very good reason, because it'll make me not write.
Oh, I thought you meant not right.
Just not, I might ugly cry.
Yeah.
I might ugly man cry with the bottom lip.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing.
But you do that anyway.
I do that. I'll do that at commercials.
Why? You do
It doesn't take much.
No,
I'm
it
the
does
softest
not.
touch.
No.
Yeah, I know. I'm the softest touch in the world. So, I break these into 5 categories.
Okay.
So let's take on the first one. Usually it's world building, but I'm going to change it tonight to setting.
Setting. The Siege of Leningrad.
Yes.
How would you rate the Siege of Leningrad? A+, 5-star siege.
Let me tell you, it's got a great tune, but you can't dance to it.
Never a better one.
There have been sieges,
But not like
but
this.
not like this. Not like Leningrad.
Not so well documented.
Did Mr.
Oh.
Benioff transport you? Did he take you to a different place? Did you feel it? Did you smell it?
Yeah. Wait, I think what we're talking about here is research.
Right.
And we know from the prologue, if it's to be believed, if it's not the fiction itself, that a lot of these stories from his grandfather, so who went through the siege of Leningrad. So some of these might be from his grandfather, and some, he mentioned a couple of books that he used to refer. It is so I'm thinking a lot of this is theft, and that's not yeah,
research isn't theft.
it is.
I think he put a lot of his own spin on it. I mean, there was
I'm not saying that's not okay. The book's called City of Thieves.
Yeah.
He's a thief. He stole these stories, I think. I mean, like, these stories are just too... Excuse me, I burped. These are too gruesome.
They are gruesome.
I mean, they're gruesome and they're cruel.
Yeah.
And I read a review of someone online. It was just, one of your types who just make up things.
Yeah,
and
just
talk out there.
Not a real critic.
Talk out
Or
there.
not, yeah, really have very
Well,
little to say.
just giving an opinion
Right.
of the read, and said, I just didn't find it gritty enough. And I was like,
What?
what do you want?
Was he reading the same book?
I know, but like, what else did you want
Yeah.
from that? I thought it was very gritty. So
Absolutely. I would.
I mean, there were some things, like, I haven't read this book since it first came out, and there were some things that I forgot, and it was it was like, wow, that's just really gruesome, and that's really rough to read.
And I would say some people, if you are
there's a lot of trigger warnings.
there's
with
a
this
lot
book.
of trigger warnings with this book. I would say everyone you can think of.
If there's a trigger,
Be warned. Violence, abuse.
Yes.
I mean, if there's a trigger, it's in there.
Yeah.
So we'll get that out.
cannibalism.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's everything
Really?
that. Well, we're getting away from setting, but
If you've once been cannibalized, well, I think that I think that lends itself to setting.
right in this setting, everything someone would have to do to survive a siege,
Is in
they
there.
do.
Yeah.
They do to get by and get through. The setting for me, man, I got to go top notch. I absolutely loved it. I thought. He was able to cross over for me beyond the research. He was able to move past that for me to make it storybook. I felt it. I could see it. I could experience it behind the characters' eyes. I had enough of a context of their world, of what was going on. But at the same time, it read as a story. It read as someone saying, I've got a story to tell you. And it was not dry. It was not just the research. He did not just rely on the research, but he relied on the immediacy of the humans in this setting, and the setting was context, and I thought it was top notch.
Sure, it's all sensory, and there are many aspects of the Siege of Leningrad that you could read about. But if you really want to be there, and really experience it, this is the book you sort of want to read.
Yeah,
if that's your jam.
Absolutely, I think beyond a history book, it gives you it just puts you there.
Do you give a brief overview of the plot at all?
I do that next with plot.
Excuse me.
That was the greatest segue I've ever seen.
You know what? That's the most artful segue we've ever had. I knew I had you up here for a reason. So, should we cruise into plot?
Well, that's your next thing. I think we should.
I think that covers setting pretty well.
I want to see how you do this without spoilers.
Before we leave setting, I do want to say this. It's a bit. This is a fantastical fiction channel, and I do want to say this. When you get to this level of depravity, of humans, inhuman cruelty to others, to other humans, right?
There's something I want to say now, and I think you're going to say it.
Yeah, probably. Well, we'll see.
Kicking the desk. What's wrong
Well, I'm
with
way
you?
over here
You're
to give
just
you room.
fidgety.
For people to wrap their minds, for these characters to wrap their minds around what's happening in this world, there's a bit of the unearthly to it. There's a bit of the fairy tale to it. There's a bit of the fantastical to it, because they have to see that as opposed to what they're seeing happening in front of them. So they do bring up things like the Baba Yaga and the witch and the forest primeval when they're moving through it. And there's just turns of phrase like the building was blown down, like a big bad wolf would have done. And there's certain things just dropped throughout this book that give you almost that removed dissonance of place that will allow you to process, as the characters going through it were processing what they had to view and see and deal with.
Sure. I was going to say, and I thought you were going to say,
No, have at it.
just through setting and how the characters process this, and I'm sure we're cross pollinating your stars here, but I do think that the comedy and the joy in it is what makes this book so human. And there's a lot of comedy. It is a funny book.
There it is. You would not think that to start off.
No, I mean we'll get into this next.
We'll
but,
get into that in
it
character, but it is a funny book.
It is a road buddy comedy.
Absolutely.
In the Siege of Leningrad.
Yeah.
So,
who would not want to read that?
Who would not? I signed right up.
You were there right from the beginning.
That's my jam.
That is your jam.
If you're gonna dunk on Nazis in a funny way, I'm gonna sign up.
Yes, you're front row.
I was right there when it came out.
Apparently, you would not want to read that, Dad, because it took you a year.
Yeah, thanks for bringing us back around to that.
Just, anything to throw you down.
Yeah,
I'll bring it up.
That's why you're here, son.
No problem.
So, okay, plot. I'm going to go the very basic level of plot to try and keep as few spoilers as possible.
I want to see it.
Okay, so we have a very young. I mean, in the beginning with the prologue.
Already, there's way too many words.
Right.
It's just really simple.
In the beginning with the prologue.
That's the thing about the plot.
It does give it a true immediacy of action because you feel it's real, right?
Just say it.
So, plot. You have this young man, Lev.
Already.
He sees.
Too much.
No.
Yes.
No.
It's a road buddy comedy.
I'm going to give it a little bit more than that.
Okay. Road buddy comedy, hero's journey, Apocalypse Now meets Lethal Weapon.
That's all elevator pitch. I'm giving a little bit more. Giving a little bit more texture.
Okay.
Young man, Lev, 17, sees a German paratrooper coming down.
Oh, we're going that for deputy. Okay.
Dead by the time he hits the ground. Mm-hmm. Takes a knife, put in jail for looting.
Which is a crime.
Right. Because that all should go to the mother state.
Right.
So, okay.
Can't take anything off of dead German soldiers.
Absolutely not.
No chocolate, no schnapps.
Nothing.
No knives, which is what he took.
Which is what he took. So he ends up in prison.
The crosses, which I love that. I had to Google that.
Not where you want to be.
No, apparently not.
Yeah.
It's a prison in St. Petersburg. Mm-hmm. It's been there a very long time. It's a museum now.
Is it really?
I Googled it.
That'd be awesome to see.
Mm-hmm. Would it?
And they bring in his cellmate, who is a deserter, Kolya.
Mm-hmm.
Who sits down and starts talking to him. And the next morning, they think they're just being taken out to be similarly executed. Mm-hmm. But they're taking to this Colonel.
Yeah. Colonel in the, what is it, NKV, and that's the precursor to the KGB.
To the KGB. Mm-hmm. And his daughter is getting married, and he wants her to have a wonderful wedding cake, and there's no eggs.
Your mission, should you accept it?
Which you have no choice if you want to live.
Yeah, and for my sins, they gave me
a mission. Go get
Am I still in the frame?
Yeah. Okay. So go get me some eggs for my daughter's wedding, and I'll let you live. I'll let you
for the wedding cake. Yep.
And that's all. And then the rest is your road buddy.
Your road buddy.
Your road buddy.
Your boat buddy.
Your boat buddy comedy.
Yep.
As they're trying to find these eggs in a place where there is no food.
There are no there. It's a famine. It's a war.
It's a siege. The food is gone. It's been gone for a while.
No food.
No food.
Eating humans.
Yeah.
Eating. What are some of the delectables we have there?
Oh, the one that's stuck in my mind is the jar of dirt. Mm-hmm. Where the fire had crystallized the sugar and had fallen into the dirt.
The sugar factory dirt, yeah.
And they were selling just jars of dirt because there was sugar in it from the fire above it. And I was like, Okay, yeah, that's candy. It's a
candy
bleak
dirt.
landscape.
And they called it library candy because they took the spines out of the books to
Yes.
eat the glue because it had protein in it.
had protein.
Library candy, they
Yeah.
called it. They used it for negotiation.
So this is bleak.
So eggs,
Eggs are,
impossible.
impossible.
That's an impossible task.
Impossible task.
Now, what you have though is Kolya, is the buddy in this road. You have the very serious Lev, who is a Jew. Now that's important.
That is important
because
absolutely.
we are running up against Nazis, and Russians, didn't really care for the Jews either.
They didn't see them as the chosen tribe.
Nope.
No, they did not.
Not so he hides his Judaism. His father has been, and I think this is not spoiler, but I think it's in the territory of the book description, is that his father has been a poet, has been taken
Years
the
prior.
NKV. Am I saying that right? The NKV.
NKVD.
Yeah. So he's been taken. He's not a fan of much of anything. He's just not attached. His identity is kind of like frozen out there. So he's got this deserter, Kolya, they've been thrown in a cell together. Kolya is everything Lev is not. He is tall, confident, Aryan looking.
Lothario.
He has lots and lots of sex. There's lots of sex in this book.
There is.
There are these are two teens on the road together, and even though they're starving, things are working.
Yeah, things
are just fine.
Things still work.
Yeah.
So that's
and that's I think where the coming of age comes in.
Yes.
Like you are talking
there
about a
is a bit
maturity.
of coming of age in this.
We're talking about a maturity on Lev's part, who has never done lots of things that Kolya has.
Right. So Kolya is almost a guide to him into manhood because his
guide and
father
the
was
mentor.
taken years prior.
Right. He's missing the father figure.
Absolutely.
Here's Kolya, not the best Kolya. I mean, Kolya is funny. Kolya is the
Absolutely.
source of the humor in the book. He is that figure played by Robert Duvall in Apocalypse Now, where it's like there's a war and he's not going to get a scratch on him.
knows he's
nothing
yeah.
is going to hurt him, and he's just confident. He negotiates with everybody straight on. If he thinks
Germans, it doesn't matter. He'll walk up to anyone. Yeah.
He will. And so he gets them in a lot of trouble, gets them out, And it's a great source of humor in the book. So there's a lot of, it's like the best and the worst of humanity all rolled up in one.
It is the best and the worst. It was the best of
Not the
worst
most feminist of books, but...
Well, there is a character in there. I don't want to go too far more into plot
No,
to
you
ruin
shouldn't.
things.
You
But there
shouldn't.
is a character there that's quite a strong female character.
I love
Not
her.
that this is a feminist book.
No. I love her, but you don't have like the Bechdel test where you have two females who are talking about something other than men. I mean, there's a lot of men in this book, and there's a lot of men to be concerned with.
Yeah.
So that's
that
a
one
concern.
female would pass the test if there was ever another female to talk to. She probably would have passed that test.
Correct.
But she had nothing but men around her at that
She had
time.
not much interest.
But she was a badass.
She was a badass.
She was a
Very much a
badass.
hero.
Love that character.
Very much a hero. Yeah.
Very much a hero. So,
Hero of the state.
would plot. I'm
There's
I'm gonna gush. I
there's
love this book.
There's nothing simpler than the hero's
Yeah.
journey done well. And it's like, even though you may know what's going to happen next or what's going on, I had still, and I've read this book before, a few surprises, a few gasps.
Absolutely.
Forgot about that.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Gotcha again.
And he can end a chapter so well. He can just on the right line. On the way, it's like,
You got to keep going.
Yeah, that's a
keep
great
going.
ending. That's a great, so much, with the eggs, the sex, the violence, the whatever, it's got everything. It's got
humanity,
Nazis. It's got Soviets.
Yeah.
It's got war. It's got
It does.
love.
It's got everything. It's humanity packed into a very, very small book. But the compression, there's so much in it, and it moves you so many different ways.
It's such a quick read.
It's such a quick read. And because of that, you would think, okay, it's these guys going for eggs where it's impossible to find eggs. You would think the plot is not everything. It's not plot driven. It's not, but it moves in such a way that you can't stop reading it.
It's on rails.
It's on rails.
I was really, when reading it the second time, I was really thinking this guy is a great editor.
Yeah. Or he had a great editor.
Correct. He's got so much, and now we're into pace. I see.
Well, we'll get there, but it's I think the plot.
We're all over the place.
The plot works because it moves you. You cannot slow down.
I can't stop it.
Absolutely.
I reread it again in 2 days.
Yeah, and I think I read it around 2.5 days myself. Yeah. So, okay, characters we've already kind of said. We got Lev, we got Kolya. These are the two characters. And then There's some that come, of course.
Some and come and go. And everybody is so individual and
Yeah.
so, like absurd. And this,
Oh, I'm so glad you say that because you're making. I think you're gonna agree with a point I have
maybe
with the absurd.
we'll see. I think there's just so. I forgot what I was going to say. Go ahead.
No.
I don't remember.
You were at absurd. So many characters.
I
They're
read.
absurd.
I was, in preparation for this, I was doing a little reading about what other people thought, and I thought that one guy, his response. Why is it always guys? Women should read this book.
Absolutely.
It's so enlightening. It's like, wow, you guys think about sex a lot.
That is so true.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So, the book, The Absurdity. Oh, bless Mac. I don't know what I was going to say.
What I love about the characters is, both of us, our background, right? Where we met, our background. I found this book and these characters.
Oh, I heard you talking out loud when you were reading it. Like from the bedroom,
Yeah.
I could hear you.
Yeah.
Because that means you want to play it.
That absolutely. Well, I'm way too old. I could play the Colonel.
No. But I know you were just like. I
could play the
hear him,
I
and
could
there was
play
like
the Colonel.
that means he loves it.
Yeah. If I'm making choices
Yeah.
in performance, it's special for
And that
me.
time that we took the dogs out, and you were giving me lines and your Russian accent, and I was like, "That's pretty good,
That's
buddy.
pretty
You've been
good.
practicing, haven't you?"
Well, I just pulled
And
that
was like,
straight
"That's
out
what
my butt.
And didn't you
Hadn't been
say
practicing.
that you were surprised this movie, this
Had been a
this
flick.
movie has not been made?
It should absolutely be a flick. But these characters, the theatricality of them, for me, it took me straight to Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. It took me straight to Vladimir and Estragon in Waiting for Godot. I mean, it's not that they're by a tree and the world's passing them by.
Slick pronunciation.
Did you like that? It's almost like
You're learned.
Yeah. They're not by a tree waiting for the world to pass them by. They're actually passing by in the world, and as they do, for me it felt so similar to that. And the absurdity and the comedy, all the while viewing some of the worst things that you could imagine.
So my mind is going to Heart of Darkness and Apocalypse Now, like I said before, because you mentioned Dante's Inferno. Like we're looking at a story where two people are walking through hell, and two very different people. And it's not so much. Here's what surprises me about how the plot moves is like how much it's just like it goes from one thing to another and not necessarily linked, not necessarily cause and effect. It's
series
just
of
this
events.
scene and this scene, and so they're going from these tableaus, but everything just clips so much. But like you would have to go. You would have to go to these very famous works of art like Heart of Darkness and Apocalypse Now, where you find war scenes like that. Somebody said All Quiet in the Western Front, and I don't think it quite fits because I don't think the duality of that is really present in that work. Anyway, that's where my mind is going. Is this kind of like famous war stories?
Both of us kind of went classical literature, right? That I think, and I mean, look, I think we both agree. From the 16th century, you had Shakespeare and the Bible. There's nothing new under the sun. So it's like for us to pull these inferences from this is like it's not surprising, but it's like to me it's classical, it's theatrical in a way. You've got the guide like a Virgil through Dante's Inferno. You've got the Waiting for Godot, and these almost the commedia dell'arte to the comedy in this despicable, depraved world to juxtapose it with, and he's. I don't know if he's this good or he just caught lightning in a bottle from his family, but there's so many layers going on here that I just found it.
Kind of think about it.
Amazing.
I have not read another of his books.
I haven't
I've only
either.
seen Game of Thrones and seen that he.
And I got serious questions because.
Well, let's not go there.
Yeah, of course.
Let's not go to the last season and the problems with that. But you could see some of his love of the buddy show on the road with his plot lines of Jamie and Brienne and Arya
the Hound,
and
right?
And,
that's when that show would sing, and that's what a lot of this is,
right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, like I would go to him and I have, gone to him if I were looking for duets and how that worked, and how, like one character can bounce off another. And I was talking to you the other day about how this book works in its comedy, how it's so Russian. And you were
Yes.
talking to me about the high intellect of the characters in this book.
Yeah.
These are people who are, doctors and chess players, and they know literature really well, and
Yes.
they can recite passages by
They can-
heart.
yeah.
Just like, that's just so
The classic
Russian.
Russian characters.
Right. And
I
when
mean,
they
look
meet
at-
the
yeah.
peasants, they have nothing to talk about. It's just like the class divisions are so sharp.
Yeah.
But when you get all of this, this going, all of these influences and this intellect going, the humor is so different.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's just like I'm just trying to figure out how it works.
But again, we're looking at that connection to class like Raskolnikov from Of Crime and Punishment.
Right,
like
right.
They're
Yeah,
classic Russian intellectuals that are
Sure.
concerned with poetry.
Very big things. And,
And-
this is cafe culture.
Right.
Where,
Cafe culture,
if
and
it
now they're
wasn't-
thrust into,
Sure.
you've got to survive.
Sure. And what you've got are like a lot of people who are doing these fast, witty, back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And they're people who just have no tolerance for BS.
Yeah.
And they have a really big nose for it. And
Right.
that's
Okay,
not to say
immediately,
anything
right.
like stereotypical about Lev, but that was a lot of the jokes,
Mm-hmm.
But that, stereotypical Jewish jokes and whatever with a little twist. And I was just like, that's new.
Mm-hmm.
But that's, how they would just go back and forth like that. It would just be like, these are people living in a time where their survival is like survival humor is so different. And it was
Yeah.
like, how did Benioff get that?
Right?
That's really specific.
I have to believe it's just a bit of his family filtering through. I mean,
has to be.
Has to be, right?
Those are like how his grandfather talks to him,
Yeah.
and how his grandmother, who went through the same thing, was
Right.
how they talk to each other, and how he probably that's my biggest guess.
It's just got
it's
to be
just something
it's genetic memory to an
that, or
extent.
just like how he was raised listening to that.
Yes.
And he said he was raised close by. So
can you think of what he heard?
Right,
And the
right.
air.
These are two people who are survivors.
Oh,
so
and
they're
would
not
take
gonna
zero
crap.
Yeah.
And they know when somebody is lying.
Yeah.
And they not only know, it's like they're not going to call you out on the lie. They're just going to just
they're just
mow
gonna write
right
you
over
off.
you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and that's
Exactly.
the humor that's just like you don't see that every day.
You
And,
really
yeah.
don't. And I think that's for me, that's why the character, you said it earlier, they're real. Mm-hmm. I've met people like this. I know people like this, and it filters across all the way to the C and the D characters and the
Yeah.
spear carriers that are
I've-
just moving
all
through.
of them, all of them, yeah.
So characters, top notch for me again.
Yeah.
Like I can't. It's very hard for me to.
Like I was even looking at an exchange with somebody. He was the guy he was buying. When they got the money to get the eggs from the colonel,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and they go right out and spend it. And they
Well, Kolya spends it.
Kolya
Yeah,
spends it,
Kolya
and Lev
spends
is like, "What are you doing?" It's like, "This is worthless. You can't get this. There's no eggs to be bought."
Yeah,
with,
what do you get? You're not gonna
300
buy eggs.
300
Yeah.
rubles. They're priceless. You can't
Yeah.
get this, so they buy alcohol.
Yeah.
And what did they buy? Like something that has to be the strain through a sock.
Yeah.
And
it literally wood alcohol. That'll
Right, the
make you
wood
go
alcohol,
blind.
right?
Yeah.
That'll make you go blind, and he drinks some with the vendor, and it's like even that character is
The
fantastic.
vendor is hilarious.
Yes.
And he's on
Yeah.
screen for that long.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
So pace, I think we covered it already. This thing is on rails.
It's
like
on
it
rails,
never
yeah.
slows down.
Yeah.
And I think
I
some of
want to
that
know who this editor is.
from the very beginning, I think it's from the very beginning of that prologue sets up this immediacy.
Now, if we haven't been clear, there is a prologue that feels real life.
Yes.
That feels like Benioff is going to his grandfather because he wants to write an autobiographical essay
Right.
for a
I
magazine.
want to know your story before it's
He wants
too late.
before it's too late, kind of feel.
Mm-hmm.
And so he spends a couple of days in Florida with him recording the story.
Right.
And then he keeps asking questions and specifics, and he wants to know. And then at some point he says, "David, make it up."
Make it up.
And that's the end of the prologue, and then it goes
And
into
then
the
it goes
book.
into this, right?
Yeah.
So
Beautiful
for
segue.
me, that sets up the immediacy of it. Like these are real people,
Yeah.
in a real event at a real time, and the investment from you as a reader is off the chart because It's that immediacy of reality.
And always the trick, right, of knowing this character is going to survive and making it interesting in any way. Because it's like, this is his grandfather.
This is the grandfather he asked, right, for a story. So,
but there are other mysteries that are dropped in the prologue that you're just being like, you're looking for. Little clues of like, oh, he was talking about that, and now it pops up in the story. I love that. They're like little Easter eggs that you're looking for in the story to make his real life grandfather make more sense to him.
And as a writer, isn't that a trick that you want your readers, like, I want you to feel smart when you put this together.
Like,
so I'm lay these breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
And it gives you an endorphin rush when you're reading, because it's like, oh, I got that one.
No, I wish I could have an example, but I will not, because those are all spoilers.
Yeah,
like, there's nothing about the prologue that you should know reappears later. It's just
you should absolutely go in as blind as possible. Yeah. So this leaves on my 5-star scorecard. It leaves us with pros. Now you are a craftsperson. I'm going to
just say it outright. Here's where I think he's weakest. However, I am going to say that, like, if you're looking at this book as like a literary masterpiece, you're like, there are some sentences that are like, I wish that would sing a little bit more. Like, you could have taken your time with that a little bit better. However, that's not what this book's about. This book is like, you have to meet it exactly where it is. This is really much more of a historical fiction adventure, and what you want is pace. And it'd be like, if the prose is sacrificed to put that on rails, if it's easier for your eyes to glide over that verb and to get the meaning and go on with that sentence, that's the verb he picked. I think he's capable of doing much better. He just did it for the sake of pace. That's my theory.
I'm going to give him a bit more credit. And I agree with everything you said. I'm just going to give him
I haven't read another book. I don't know how he
that's
goes.
true.
Yeah.
That's true. But I just think...
Dialogue, though?
Dialogue is awful. He's a master. He's a master.
So, like, that's a part of prose.
If I'm in there making choices with dialogue...
that's a part of prose.
That's a part of prose.
But he's a master at voice. Everybody had their own voice. It was a Russian voice.
So much
you
so...
You could hear the accent.
Yeah. Yes, immediately.
Even though you're reading it in English, you can hear the clip to it.
Yeah.
When it switches to German, I can hear the clip of German. He has a great ear.
He has a great ear. And he's a master of dialogue.
Yes.
And I'm going to say, I agree with everything you said about prose. I think it was far more intentional on his part. I think, and when it came to the end, there's some themes coming together that he kind of parallels with something created that is the real world, and you look back and forth. So I think,
lost me.
I don't want to do a spoiler, but I think he can operate on that level. I think he chose not to. I think it was intentionally a choice that he made to make the prose accessible to the point where it's immediate and it doesn't slow you down.
Yeah.
There's never a turn of phrase that made me go, "Oh gosh, that's pretty."
That
never happened.
Yeah, because that's not what you're supposed to do.
I was always in it as a human experience in the worst possible setting.
You can tell because there was a rhythm to his sentences.
Yes.
There was a rhythm to his chapters. There was where he would, in some sentences, especially comedy, on the word that was the surprise.
Yeah.
That's like,
Yeah.
It was like, no, he knows what he's doing.
Absolutely. So for me, his prose was, I thought it was intentional.
I just can't say if he's capable of more. I don't know.
I'm going to say
Jury's out.
Digestible, accessible to give you this amazing
for the genre
human travel that everyone is never taken out of because of any type of purple language.
Correct.
I thought it was intentional, and for me, it was appreciated and absolutely.
You got a 2-day, you got a weekend read.
Yeah,
it is going to fly,
and it's going to take you to places that are completely uncomfortable. And yet, it's going to give you moments of hope.
Yeah.
It's going to give you moments of humanity.
Joy, laughter.
Yeah, all of it.
Yeah.
The entire human experience packed into under 300 pages, I think.
It's a pretty fast read.
It's
like I said.
Yeah.
It's fast.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, I would say 5 stars for me.
It is for me. It's been one of my favorites for a while.
Yeah.
Even though I like a feminist read or whatever, it's just like, this is a boy read, and it just works. It works really well.
It's a guy read, but like you say, women should read it because...
If you know his work on Game of Thrones, you know he can handle
he can do it
characters just fine.
And that one character he
the one
knocks it out of
character
the
we're
park.
not mentioning. Yeah, it's just like, no, she does do a lot of heavy lifting.
She really
for
does.
For the lack of female characters, she does.
The ending wouldn't be the same. I mean, there's so much wouldn't be the same.
It wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The payoff would not be there.
The payoff would not be there. Correct.
Yeah. See, I feel like this was so much better.
What was?
Going over this because I had someone here that knows what the hell.
I think you did fine.
I'm sitting right over here, Dad.
I think
I'm not talking about you.
I think though, like when we did our pre-talk about this, you changed my mind about a few things about his. Like I think you're giving him more credit than I did.
Yeah.
On a couple of topics, and then when I thought about it, I really changed my mind about what he was doing. So I think you're better than you give yourself credit for, and I'm worse.
That's not true. But I'll take better because I'm going to walk on air now for about 3 days because I live to impress you. That's what I do.
All right.
I wake up every day and think, how can I impress that woman?
Brush your hair.
Well, let's not, I'm saving something for my old age.
All right, I'm done.
And that
It's another episode.
is another episode. That is that. Do you have anything to add to Family Book Night?
I didn't read this book, so
You should, though.
I'm sure I should.
I'm telling you, you would love this book.
I'm sure that I would.
This would not be, I know you're having a hard time getting back into a book. You would not have that problem with this book.
Oh, come on, man.
He's going to have to.
Why?
Oh, he is losing it.
Don't do that.
He is losing his OCD mind right now. Hey, everybody, I hope you had as much fun as we did. If you have read this book, if you have not read this book, I hope you absolutely do. Hit me down there in comments. Let me know if you've read it. Let me know if you're going to read it.
Hit you down there in comments.
Yeah, and while you're down there, that little thumbs up button, hit that. Right? Hit that thumbs up button. Helps us do everything. Helps us grow the channel. And you know what? While you're down there, let's pay some attention to these fine people right here. Because they help us keep the lights on. They help everything going. They have taken the challenge to help us grow the channel all the way up to getting some of their content, which is coming up this month. And if you're interested in being a part of that, down there in the description box, check out the Patreon page. Other than that, I can't think of much else that we would want to say.
I don't have anything to say.
Except, if you're down there, hit the subscribe button. Nope. Nope.
Also, if people are already subscribed and they hit it again, it means they unsubscribe.
Well, don't do that. That would be bad.
I'm just putting that out there.
Don't do that. Hit the subscribe button because you know what? It feels good. And I have OCD and my son comes by it naturally, so I had to fix that. So there's that. There's that. So hit the subscribe button. It feels good. Thank you guys so much. This was amazing for me to have Family Book Night. I hope it was as fun for you. I had a blast, and I can't wait to do it again. So we're going to have to read the same book again. Let us know what you thought. My name is John Minton. If you've sat through all of this, that means you're book people. And if you're book people in my book, that makes you the best people. My name is John Minton. That is...
David Benioff?
No.
I don't know who I am.
That is Jakob Minton, and the ever amazing, look, the most talented woman I've ever met, Amy Minton, has left the building. So thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time on Talking Story.